What's up, guys? Rick Fan here, and welcome to the Fan of Life channel, Fan of Life show. This episode is a little bit overdue, but coincidentally, we are doing it on the day that Bitcoin is reaching its highest high, to my knowledge, over 66,000 a coin as of this morning. So today's episode is going to be unique. Talking to a crypto specialist by the name of Liem Lee, who started out as a software engineer. So you can tell already that this is going to be a very interesting conversation, a little bit over my head. I hope I was able to bring it back so that you guys, if nothing else, if Liem and I did our job, you guys would be inquisitive enough to continue down this path and research on your own. Our goal was to not necessarily talk about the financials of the coin, but to help you guys understand about the coin so that you can kind of see where the future is headed and what steps you can take to take part in that. Because guys, in life, we got to take risks, but we got to take calculated risks. I think most people play in this space due to FOMO, fear of missing out. There's nothing to miss out if you understand where we're going. And if there's a pathway and an understanding and a goal you guys do strategically, I think success is inevitable. So anyway, without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Liem Lee. Hey, Liem, give me 1 second. I'm busy cashing out my Coinbase right now, so.
No, don't do it.
Oh, man. What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. How are you doing, man? I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, I'm super excited because you're one of the smart guys that I appreciate being in my circle of influence, and had a chance to meet you and your team last week, which was awesome. So I wanted to carry on the conversation specifically today with Bitcoin and all the crypto talk. And coincidentally, we both woke up to, I think, all-time highs today, right?
Yes. If you don't mind, if I could plug my podcast. So I do talks with Liem Lee.
Absolutely.
I talk about careers, people's careers, their paths, and their expertise. But I also love crypto. So I'm a software engineer. So that'll be my plug. I'm done. So people check out my podcast. If you like what I have to say, come check out my podcast.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna link. I'm gonna link all your social and all your channels in the description for sure. But you know what? Let's roll right into it, man. Software engineer. Tell me a little bit about that background, and then we'll talk about how you parlay that into your space right now in the crypto world. But a little bit of your background.
So I started in computers back in 2001. Started computer school, and then jumped into working at IBM at the age of at the year of 2002. I started working at IBM, and then a few years later jumped into software engineering, and then been doing it ever since. So for nearly almost 2 decades, I've been doing software engineering. I mean, I'll try to do a quick bio for people, maybe if it matters, if they want to watch more or shut off the the podcast because
no.
they think my credentials are good or not. So I worked at IBM, worked at the Navy, did some. I thought that was probably, to me, I thought was kind of one of the coolest projects I worked on. Battleships ready for war. Our data was tracking their readiness, so they have drills and stuff. Firefight, if there's a fire on a aircraft carrier, a firefighter is trained to get there within an X amount of seconds, depending on from which part of the ship they're based in and where the fire is located. So their officer would do test training and like, okay, did they get there within 25 seconds? Did they get dressed in 15 seconds? Did they run there in 30 seconds? So things like that. It would go up, track the data. They had a tablet. This was back in 2003. They would have a tablet. We programmed our software onto the tablet. They would record, yes, that firefighter got there. There's thousands of questions throughout the ship, just firefighters. There's people, I don't know, people fixing things, fixing the aircrafts, even the cooks. There's times to move inventory, stuff like that. So that they record the data, send it off to their server, send it through satellite down to San Diego home base, and we track all their data, and it comes down to green, yellow, red light. Green light, they're ready for war. Red light, they shouldn't be.
Wow.
Yeah. So worked on that when I was 23 years old. Very fortunate to get, that's where I started learning program, was around 23.
Now, did you do that as a contractor, or do you do that as a military?
Contractor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were how old at the time?
23.
Wow.
Yeah. So, to me, like looking back on the things I've done, like it feels like sometimes it's gone downhill, because then I went to work for some of the recent ones was an HOA documentation, so homeowners assurance documentation, but there's a lot of software behind it. We were digitizing the whole HOA stuff.
Mhm.
So I mean, when I talk about 23 working on ships ready for war, sending data through
Sure.
satellites,
Sure.
then
Yeah.
later on. But as a software engineer, your career should always, you're picking up new things and learning new things the whole way. I worked at a casino here in Vegas, did their software for gaming. So if you sign up for a membership,
Mhm.
my software was actually kind of my software was in the background to help facilitate them getting rewards. So if they gambled $100,000, then they'd probably get like I forget the numbers, like a $10,000 offer.
Mhm.
And so my software would help when you call, if that $100,000 gambler calls in and says, hey, I'm thinking about staying this weekend, that resort agent is actually on the computer looking at my software like, oh, your name is John Doe. Oh, you got a
Wow.
$10,000 offer. Would you like to take this up? I mean, there's a whole team behind it. I'm the one that just kind of helped facilitate that screen where the agent's typing in John Doe search,
Sure.
shows up an offer. That offer has a team behind it. They're like looking at, okay, how much should we give this guy? Blah, blah, blah. So
So have you always been attracted to data and data gathering and information in that sense?
That's interesting. I would say as soon as the opportunity to become a programmer, a junior programmer in 2004, I think it was
Mhm.
2003, 2004, that it did spark an interest in me. Prior to that, I didn't really know. I actually remember interviewing for that job. My friend got me through the interview because he worked there, and he's hey, we're going to teach you programming. At that time, I'm like, I don't know programming, man. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know anything about this stuff. He's like, well, you're lucky. We're going to actually train you as long as you're okay being trained. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You guys train me for free. Heck yeah. And then once I saw how data is, so actually, to me, another thing. Shoot, was it actually 2002? 2004. So I think 2004, I started working on this thing called suggestionfinder.com. I was thinking in my head, like, so 2004, keep in mind, people that are listening, take yourself back to 2004. We had Google.
Mhm.
There was me. Was even the iPod was out? I forget if the iPod was out yet. So back
Yeah.
then, the internet was still relatively new. I think Napster was maybe just dying out
Yeah, the
due
tail
to
end of Napster.
yeah,
Sure.
the legal end.
Mhm.
So there wasn't a whole lot of service. Uber's wasn't around.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm trying to think. Spotify wasn't around. So I made up this idea called suggestionfinder.com. And it's a terrible name because it's so long. There's too many characters, but just come with me on this journey. 2003, I come up with this idea like, I want to rate restaurants. I think this would be a national app
Uh-huh.
or a software website, Suggestion Finder. I want everybody, I can't control reviews. You come in, you write a review, this restaurant sucks. And you could probably already tell what website has taken over. But so imagine in 2004, I created this app, this website. I'm walking around with plant fits. I printed out. I made the website already. It's a amateur website. Like I'm not a graphics designer. When I look at it, it's embarrassing.
Mhm.
When it was working, this was too long ago. It's not up anymore. So I have these plant fits. I'm going to businesses. Imagine 2004. I go up to a business like, hey, get a free website, but I can't control reviews. Once we build up this database, you're going to be in the database in San Diego. So if someone searches Korean food, if it's a Korean restaurant, hopefully you show up and
Mhm.
the rating will show up. You might have a 4.0 rating or a 5.0. That's up to the reviewers. I have no say on that, I told them. But the funny thing, literally, I remember I think it was 3 out of 3 restaurants I walked into to give them a pamphlet and tell them about it. And they're like, it seems like a scam. You're giving me a free site? This
Yeah.
is a scam. No, I'm not signing up. I said, no, there's no sign up. There's no, all you have to do is just log in and create your business. I could create it for you. I'm just
Mhm.
letting you know about it. And they're like, no, I don't want a piece of it. I'm like, what do you mean? It's free. There's no drawback, nothing. You don't pay for anything. And they're like, no, thank you. It seems like a scam. 2004. And so then Yelp came out about 2 years later, I think 2005, 2006.
Okay.
And I saw on the news they got like I want to say it was something like a $13 million backing from Cox Communications. I might be wrong, some of the details, but they got some backing and angel investors, not angel investors, but investors.
Mhm.
And I threw in the towel. I was like, no, you guys Yelp, you guys won this battle.
Right. Right.
I tried to do everything homegrown, and that was probably just a fault of my own. I don't know how to grow businesses in that format. I'm a software engineer, a programmer. I don't know that stuff. So
So yeah, you have the vision and you have the logistics and mechanics on the how things should be deployed possibly, but as far as go to market,
Yeah.
that's a whole different
Yeah.
integration in itself. No, I get
hmm
that. I get that. So how did that then? When were you first introduced to crypto? And-
Oh, that actually, sadly, 2008 when the white paper was out.
Hmm,
That sucks. 2008. I remember I was sitting programming something. I had about three coworkers near me for whatever reason. I remember that conversation. I think it was John. His name was John. John comes up, says, "Hey, what do you think about this Bitcoin thing? Here's a white paper." And then he's just like, "It's a digital currency." I'm a junior. I was still a junior programmer, so I started programming 2003, somewhere around there, 2008. So to me, my brain didn't conceptually understand
hmm,
programming on a big scale. I was still growing mentally. So John comes up. I think my friend Dan and my friend Ryan was there, or coworkers. They're all programmers. John says, "What do you think about this white paper thing, this Bitcoin?" I think he didn't even call it white paper. White paper. I mean, I know back then that was a term, but we didn't know it. We just
right.
saw this Bitcoin paper thingy, and John's like, "What do you guys think?" Dan's like, "I don't know." Ryan's like, "I don't know." So I sat there for a moment. I was like, can you secure that? Is there a way to secure that? I'm a junior programmer. I didn't understand. I should have. I didn't understand RSA encryption. I didn't understand 256 SHA encryption, all this stuff. I sat there at that moment in 2008. I'm like, I don't think you could secure that. There's no way. Nope, I'm not buying.
Hmm.
Get that away from me. That's a fad. People are talking about on the news. It's going to be a fad.
Right,
It's going to be hacked. It's going to be hacked.
right.
Um, 2016, I Bitcoin's going up, but the Bitcoin has its big jump in 2012. I think 2012 was a big jump, and then 2017. But luckily, 2016, I'm at a pool party and someone comes up to me, a friend, IT friend, and he's "What do you think about Ethereum?" And at that point, I'm like, I replied, "What's that?" And he's "It's a cryptocurrency." I was like, "Oh, is that a Bitcoin thing?" He's like, "Yeah, but I think Ethereum will be the next, could be the next big thing. Just research it." That's all he
Hmm.
said. At that moment, I was like, "Oh, this guy's he had a good he had a very long career in IT, and he was more successful than I am." So I was like, maybe I should listen to this guy. Went home that day, researched Ethereum, then we researched blockchain. And as I'm researching blockchain, the RSA encryption thing, I started researching how do you secure this, and I looked at RSA encryption, the 256-bit encryption. I started doing some math, like, oh, to hack one private key, if you know the public key, I did the math. I was sitting there, and this is kind of a little bit of a summary of the story, but I did some of the math. It was a little bit, probably a few months later when I did the math, but for the sake of the story, just to make it more interesting. So I looked at how many computations a CPU can do. An average home computer that costs around $2,000 to $3,000 at the time in 2006.
Hmm.
And if you have the public key and you want to hack the private key, it was one with 70 zeros behind it. That's how many years that computer would take. So the
Yeah,
end of the universe, the universe hasn't even existed for that long.
yeah, yeah.
So I said, the light bulb in my head went off on top of that. I was like, wait, this is not hackable, or not. It's not probable.
Yeah.
You can't, you could get lucky and hack it, but it'd be one out of that many zero. Yeah. One out of one and 70 zeros behind it. So that light bulb first went off for that. And then a second light bulb was like, wait, this is decentralized data where every node in the world has this to secure and have a consensus and say, yes, that last block was correct. And a
Mm,
light bulb in me went off with decentralization. I think most people actually seem to stop before that. Whether it's hard to understand, I think it's probably hard to understand, but maybe they also like the money aspect, so they stop before that.
yeah.
Decentralization is going to revolutionize the world. I think you can't stop it. You literally can't stop it.
Yeah. Put a pin in that really quick because I want to go back to the white paper in 2008. So if my history is correct, please correct me. If my history is correct, this came out of post crash of '07, where the banks basically screwed the economy by doing the subprime loans. Documentations were forged. They put a bunch of CED, horrible level loans, and they put a bow on top of it with an A grade loan, and then they packaged and they resold it. until, the cards fell, right? It was a
Correct.
house of cards.
Yep.
And because of this is where the conception of Bitcoin and blockchain and decentralization came about. So the whole idea with decentralization and blockchain is that it prevents one entity to control basically information that could be fraudulent. Is that a layman's summary of that is accurate?
I think I would add in, if you want to get a bit technical, I'll try to keep it layman also. This encryption RSA goes back, I think, till like World War II. So this maybe it's a simple, you're getting two prime numbers, you do this multiplication and you get a public key, private key, and they're using this to send messages into Germany. But so when I say 256 bit, that's something that a computer could do.
Right.
Humans back then, they're probably doing, I don't know, like 2-bit encryption. You have to do it by hand. You would actually, I think they're doing by hand. So if someone wanted to say hello world in a message, or hello Hitler, whatever, they would actually do the math. They would, the other person on the other end would have a private key. They would send you their public key, and then you would hash it out, and you send this encrypted message. So someone would see this like probably string of letters and numbers, and they're like, what the heck is that? The other person with the private key on the other hand on the other side could do the math to decrypt the message, and they could see the message says hello Hitler, whatever it is. So because that math has been around since World War II and they're using it for messages, in the 1980s and 90s, from my understanding, there were crypto or cypherpunks, I think they called it. I might be wrong on that. Cypherpunks who knew about this and thought it was possible to create a digital currency back then, but they didn't think of how to actually implement it. And that's where this revolutionary thing that Satoshi Nakamoto figured out a mathematical way for all these mining nodes. He was the first one to build a working prototype and release it to the world. There's a lot of pieces in that. I think GitHub, or a certain software, decentralized software hub was required for this. So there's a lot of pieces that Satoshi needed in place, but Satoshi was the first one to do it. So if I had to guess what Satoshi's true, I'm just guessing this.
Yeah,
there's no way to know. I think Satoshi was a cypherpunk, and this would have been released at some point anyway. It just happened to coincide with the crash, and it happened to even make the meaning of it even more. Yeah. That's what I think of the story. So it's, yes, you're right, but I think, just to add, I think it just happened to coincide with the crash.
Interesting. This is the first time I heard it dated back to World War II.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple sides, right? So there's the average everyday guy trying to get ahead, watch the news, listen to their buddy. They throw their money into crypto, whether it's, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or some of these, other altcoins, and they try to make a quick buck. We're really not going to talk about that, because that's that's speculation. That's pump and dump. That's basically gambling, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is.
Yeah.
So what I hope, and my hope from this podcast or talk today, is for people to understand the bigger, grander picture. Because if you understand, one of my mentors in this space said to me a long time ago, and this was right before the first bull run, about 4 years ago. He said, if you understand crypto or Bitcoin, you will invest. If you understand blockchain, you will sell your house.
Yes.
I am not going to, again, this is YouTube. We're not giving financial advice. Do not sell your house. But the idea behind that statement is, if you truly understand where this is going and what the future holds for the blockchain technology, you will be in it for the long term. Is that a pretty accurate statement?
That is very accurate with what you're saying about the technology wise. We're going to talk about decentralization. That's how I feel about it. Once you understand this stuff, for me, I was like, holy shit, this is going to revolutionize the world. We should be all in. Everyone should be all in. But yeah, let's go down that path.
So is it fair to compare it to, say, the internet?
No.
The internet in its infancy, and people were not understanding really what it's for, and again, thinking it was a fad. And obviously, they changed the world forever.
In certain terms, yes. In certain terms, no.
Okay.
Comparing it to the internet, the slight difference I would kind of say is the internet it's almost like a service and not fully a protocol. I feel like blockchain is the maybe owning the backbone of the internet. That's, I need to find a better way to word it. So the government owns the cable underneath the ground that runs the internet, the fiber optics.
Yeah.
Blockchain is almost that. It's not the internet. So if the internet was built off of that fiber optic, blockchain is that fiber optic. So this is a step closer. Before, say Google, back at Google, Facebook, if you invest money into Google, Facebook, there's still a fiber optic behind all that. Blockchain is that fiber optic. We're not held by any government that built that fiber optic. It kind of is, you could say that blockchain is still running on that fiber optic, but there's such a fundamental change. There's such a paradigm shift. I'm trying to think of a way to easily back up and explain this. Okay. So, wow. Blockchain, let's back up and go to decentralization and blockchain. So if you decentralize data, that means a truth by consensus. There's a philosophical truth by consensus, a philosophical thing where if more than half of the community believes something is true, in real life, that still happens today. Like if I don't know, in our lifetime, I wonder if we take in our lifetime, the history books that would talk about Thanksgiving and the Indians. No, that's a decent example. Like we don't really see the harm that America did in the history books. I feel like it doesn't portray, in my opinion, at my time in school. Maybe I didn't. I feel like when I grew up, I understand the atrocities that America had on the Indians. Let's take actually another example behind that for Asian sake. My understanding, the railroads here was actually built by Chinese, which we've heard before, probably. Maybe some people don't know that, but also Vietnamese and Filipinos. Now, there could be the argument, well, cowboys back then didn't know the difference between Chinese, Vietnamese, or Filipinos. You just look at them and look at their Asian. Right. But those people were brought over, and from my understanding, they weren't allowed to bring wives or women. So they brought all men's, and their genes died out there on the railroad. Do you see that in the history books? I don't remember hearing that about that in the history books.
No.
So consensus of truth, because the government has a consensus, has a power to maybe you could call it propaganda or to hide it or change history. The government has a majority to just say, okay, what happened was there's some Asians that came and built the railroads, but they didn't say Vietnamese, Filipinos. That was really interesting for me to hear about that. So, okay, decentralization, consensus of truth, consensus of truth. That's such a powerful thing that when people talk about cryptocurrency, like I think I've heard one or two people ever throughout all my YouTube videos that I watch, only two people ever mention it. This stuff is a paradigm shift. If you can control history, if you can control printed money, like the government, they own and control you. So this is a paradigm shift with blockchain where the masses of people, the majority of people actually get to vote what the history is, what the future is, and what is truth. So let's go with truth. Why does truth matter? Truth is so fucking important, but sorry, I'm not sure if
you can.
It's so fucking important, so brutally important. Truth. If I could tell history that Chinese people built the railroads, let's go future truth. Let's go future things that are coming up. A car accident. If I have I think I might have talked. I forget if I talked with you on my podcast about this, but let me know if I did, and then I'll try to find a different example. If you have a car insurance company, you get in a car accident, car insurance company sends out a adjuster to figure out how much damage is and who's at fault.
Correct.
The adjuster's on the side of the insurance company.
Correct.
If you had a protocol consensus of truth, you could build an insurance company built on the blockchain that has in its wallet X amount of dollars. And it could be an entity that actually is not a human ran company. It would be a decentralized insurance company. And you could have a third party adjuster that is 50-50 bias. 50% of the time they have ratings to vote towards the insurance company time, and 50% of the time to vote towards the insuree.
Surety.
So you could have a blockchain insurance company that would have what will facilitate insurance company that actually has the assets to protect, say $60,000 of damage. If I got in a car accident, they would be in their wallet, and you could see it on the blockchain. They can't fake that. And then you could have an adjuster that is that's unbiased. That's a paradigm shift on that. There's true. That's more of. Am I blowing your mind yet? Hopefully I am, but
No. Yeah. No. I think what you're explaining is important, and it's all to reference, because I'm old, like the first Matrix, right? You got to go down that rabbit hole. But for people to really understand it conceptually, is you have to realize that
it's huge.
That information that they get on a daily basis. Let's use real life information like insurance adjuster. Most people think insurance adjuster is, like you said, they come out, they do their job, but they have a lean towards a certain bias because they're hired by a certain bias, right? Same thing with the news. Same thing with
exactly
politicians. Same thing with almost everyday life that we do. You know, food. I love food. You and I talked about this. You know, I love food. One of the biggest health atrocities that we've ever did to ourselves was, you know, attacking fats and getting fat-free food because everyone thought it was healthy. Why? Because the machine behind the marketing taught us that. And then Americans got really out of shape and in bad health because of it. And like you said, it's consensus of truth. But when truth is controlled and it's not verified, then that's where it gets scary. So for people, and again, we don't want to go down too deep of this rabbit hole, but I think over the last few years with politicians and what have you, and the media, people are starting to open their eyes up to, holy crap, what I believe was true, it's pretty much on some level propaganda. They may not be Chinese government propaganda, North Korea propaganda, but nonetheless, it's propaganda. So what you're saying is, on a bigger scale, forget that Bitcoin is 66,000 a coin today. Forget all that stuff. The conception of blockchain and what its sole purpose, or one of its sole purpose, is to reveal truth because it's decentralized and you can verify.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So let's take. I wonder if you could do. The food one's a really interesting one. Voting's obvious. Voting for a president, that is a consensus of truth. Because right now we have gerrymandering, people that cities that could change their borders and their zones and who votes for what. Even though you have 10,000 people that voted for this senator, but then they change the zones and then it votes for somebody else. So with consensus of truth, there's no fuckery there. You can't change your zones. It's consensus of truth. You see who voted for who, and you get the count. That there's no if then buts about it. What else? Consensus of truth. So that is such a huge thing. And I think most people, when they think of cryptocurrency, they just go down and think of price. Earlier you mentioned. So that this consensus of truth could be from everything. If you did the food company, voting, car insurance, absolutely everything. So once people get their head around it, I don't know if we have to explain why consensus of the truth is possible, because there's nodes that sit around the world that are unhackable. There's this math that happens with blockchain where one node will say a transaction comes through, say Sally sent John $10. That node says, yeah, here's a mathematical output of that, and I confirm it. And then another node will be like, okay, I'm making this into layman's term, but
no, please.
That node will say, okay, Sally did have more than $10. I'm going to send it to John. That node does the mathematical equation and says, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. Here's the two computers that have no knowledge of each other, except for they run the same software. They come to the same exact zeros and ones down to the byte, to the bit level, 00111, whatever. It comes out to the same thing. Like, okay, we agree. A third or fourth computer, they all agree. If you had one bad actor out of whatever millions of nodes, one bad actor says, no, Sally sent John $200 million. It has a different signature. That mathematical answer won't be that 0001111 that fits all the other millions of nodes. So that node will be that their block confirmation will be kicked off the network.
Right. Right.
Now, if you had potentially 51% or more, that's where the hack could happen. If someone had enough machines around the world
Mm-hmm.
to send out a blast and say, yeah, Sally sent John $2 million, then they could control the network. But you'd have to have so many servers. It's right now, the hash rate is so unbelievably difficult that I don't think anybody can buy that many servers. And the beauty of blockchain, for somebody to be that vindictive, that greedy, the beauty of blockchain is it behooves a person to work with the system. Actually,
Right.
if they're going to spend,
Mm-hmm.
say if they had to spend, say they had to spend $1 billion to buy enough computers to get 51% of the hash rate,
Mm-hmm.
they just risked $1 billion. What's going to happen to, let's just throw in Bitcoin. If they decided Bitcoin, they want to hack Bitcoin, they spent $1 billion buying servers.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably more. I'm guessing they'd have to spend like, I don't know, probably $20 billion of servers. They spent $20 billion worth of servers to try to take 51%. What do you think would happen? All of a sudden, the network people would be like, wait, that was weird. Why did Sally send $200 million to John? Somebody would notice it. Some
Yeah.
developer, somebody around the world. It only takes one person.
Yeah.
They advertise, they blast it out to news, TV news or whatever, Reddit community.
Yeah.
You get that, and then you get enough people like, holy shit, it looks like there's been a hack. What do you think would happen? Bitcoin value would, like from 65,000 down to probably $10 or whatever.
Right.
So now that person that had $10 billion of hardware try to hack it, what happens to his 10 billion now? If he tried to
Right.
hack, so it's a
Right.
beautiful, decentralization is so freaking beautiful. I think people don't understand it. It takes more money, almost more money to hack the system than it's worth. It's
Right.
better to take that 10 billion, buy
And
it
try
to
to
Bit,
solve the equation and get a Bitcoin possibly. Right.
or just
Yeah.
buy Bitcoin, you bring the value up and then you're already
Right.
winning.
Right. Right. It's built into it so that uh you're not incentivized to try
That
to
is
crash it.
exactly it.
Yeah.
You're incentivized to work with the system. It's a beautiful, this is a paradigm shift that doesn't exist.
Right.
Corporations nowadays, they're
Right.
incentivized to get their
Holders.
shareholders
Mm,
to get the stock value up. But
right.
what does that do? What does that really help? You're just
Right.
squeezing the small guys working in the factory, or you're squeezing something else. But blockchain is, the better you make it, the better it helps everyone. The better that everyone works together, the better the whole
Mm.
system is. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
So we're gonna stop on the blockchain here because this is not a 1 hour, 2 hour conversation for people. So if nothing else, I want people to get familiarized with that terminology because I wonder how many people now, because of the recent markets, are putting money into crypto and not even once discuss blockchain or
Yeah, yeah.
have just a surface level understanding of it. So
Mhm.
please, if nothing else, Liv and I, if we did our job today, you at least go down the rabbit hole on your own, YouTube, books, workshops, seminars, whatever, communities, and understand the blockchain side of it. So,
Yes.
so please do that. So let's move on to the actual coins themselves then. So what is the difference? Let's use the two biggest ones, the two blue chip ones, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum. Why are there two separate coins and what makes them different?
So Bitcoin was the first. It's the grandfather. It is Satoshi Nakamoto built this consensus mechanism for people to have a digital currency. This consensus mechanism is all the mining nodes around the world can work together, and the mining nodes are able to say, no, that's not a good transaction. You're a bad actor. So that is the basis of blockchain typically. Now you add on Ethereum, someone said, hey, you got that. Vitalik was the person who
Mm-hmm.
thought of it. He looked at blockchain or Bitcoin and said, hey, you got that consensus module, but there's no programming layer. There's nothing to make it intelligent. So
Mm.
they called it smart contracts. And he said, or he built a system where you could, if you wanted to build a smart contract, he thought, he was probably thinking like, what if Sally wanted to loan John $10 today, but in the future, John has to pay back $12? So a smart contract can facilitate that, where it could actually do something like, John, John could borrow 10. It's actually probably a little bit more complicated. There's a mathematical thing. He'd have to hold in a smart contract $5. She will give 7, and it'll slowly deplete that 5. At any point, if he misses a monthly payment, it liquidates that 5 and gives it all to her. So there you could do smart contracts. So it's programmable logic.
It becomes a facilitator then too, right?
Yeah.
So I'll use it in real world real world. And some of my listeners know I'm heavy into real estate, right? So when we purchase, sell, what have you, it goes through escrow. So escrow, title company, and escrow, they're the third party that facilitates all the terms that are written out, and they hold the funding because they are by a non-biased third party. Then from there, based on the terms, when funding is received, then they distribute it to the various parties in the various amounts agreed upon. What you just described to me is that, in a sense, for a real world application under one simplistic, efficient process. Is that
it's totally correct? That's why the paradigm shift is escrow companies could be out of a job. Accountants could be out of a job. Lawyers potentially could be out of a job, because if we agree on this consensus that this programming language, say Ethereum, say America adopts Ethereum, just what if? And senators, Congress says smart contracts are legally binding. So if I go into a smart contract with you, and that smart contract says you will let me stay at your house, but I'm going to pay for the house through monthly payments, through a mortgage to you. Just say what if, this is a hypothetical.
No, sure.
And Congress says it's legally binding. So if I'm paying every month, and then I decide if something happens, I lose my job and I can't pay you, and the smart contract is written in the blockchain, and Congress says, and then you say, hey, Lim, you haven't paid for 2 months. What the fuck? You go to Congress and say, hey, here's the smart contract. I get my house back. Lim needs to be kicked out. Congress gets police or whatever. Probably right. City council, city legal or something, gets police, kicks me out. So you wouldn't need a legal team at that point. This is a paradigm shift, and it may not happen, but that's where blockchain is so amazing. This could actually happen.
So I see this from an entrepreneurial standpoint too. That also, I guess, two sides. If you're in a certain industry that it could affect in a negative way, like you said, maybe escrow companies or what have you, that's one thing. But I think it opens the doors for entrepreneurs big time, because I think one of the biggest holdback or mental holdback for someone going out there and being an entrepreneur or being in a gig economy or independent contractor or what have you is they're fearful of putting things on paper. They're fearful of not understanding terms or, getting attorneys involved, et cetera, et cetera. If this allows you to do this peer-to-peer and everything is binding in that whole process of a smart contract, then I think it opens the doors for entrepreneurs for sure.
Yeah. And even in the middle, say people would be, I'm positive people would be apprehensive. Sure. As at first, say the government says smart contracts are legally binding. The first 10 people, first 100 people, they're going to be like, dang, signing this contract. But hopefully what I would envision what would happen is these smart contracts, they have, there's versions and names on it. Like there would be some company that says we're using smart contract escrow version 1.10, whatever they name it. Let's just say escrow version 1.10, whatever. You would see on the blockchain that 2,000 people have used this escrow version 110 smart contract. So that would be kind of like it would build reputation for this smart contract.
Yeah.
That's how I would see it rolling out.
Yeah. It sets a precedent, right? So then now there's a point of reference for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So is this what happens when other coins come out? So when other coins come out, and some of them are dog shit coins, right?
Yeah.
We call them altcoins. But when altcoins come out, is that the pitch? Is that the white paper pitch is, Bitcoin is great, Ethereum is great, but we do XYZ better, or we do XYZ that those two coins don't do? Is that what's been happening?
So yes and no. Yes, for the good ones, yes. No, for the bad ones, as in where there's people, there can be bad intentions, and most likely often bad intentions. another possible, or that's a bad case. Another bad case is just somebody that understands enough crypto where they could copy code and they build a marketing team, say, hey, we're fixing this and that with
Mm,
crypto. And they didn't do anything. They just copied the code and then rebranded it. So unfortunately with open source, that's a problem. And that's just, hopefully people are able to do their research, and you want to understand a cryptocurrency through their developers if you can, or their community. And that's tough too. Some people, a community could get a lot of bad people together and pump up a coin. So
sure.
that is something, as people invest in crypto, they have to, I would suggest, if you can, try to spend time and research that stuff. Some people might, it's funny, some people will be like, well, how can I invest quickly and get the most returns? Like, well, if you buy a house, are you going to try to jump in real quickly? Like that's $100,000, $400,000, $500,000. Crypto could be the same thing. If crypto could profit you $500,000, don't you want to do some research into it and try to
Yeah.
understand it? So
Hmm.
that's what I say when people try to make a quick buck on crypto. I'm like, no, just go research it. Like, you're going to put some money in. I mean, it took you time to make that money. Don't you want to spend some time to try to grow it?
So you already kind of touched on it. So let's do bullet points then. If you had 1 to 3, 1 to 4 bullet points for a layman, that average Joe guy works 9 to 5, has a little bit of money put aside, understands inflation enough to know that he's losing money, having money in the bank, so he's willing to take a risk. And again, this is not financial advice. This is two guys talking. But I do want to point out the fact that if you're going to do anything along this line, whether it's crypto or any type of investing, it's the money that it should be the money that you're willing to lose. No,
Correct.
because with
Yep.
every investment there is risk. I don't care how well it's researched. That being
Yep.
said, what's a good protocol bullet points for someone to kind of go through before putting their money somewhere in terms of the crypto world?
Yeah, I'll reiterate. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. If I had a bullet point, disposable income,
Okay.
that's how I did it. 2016. You just look at your finances. Hey, I could throw away $100 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, whoever you are, whatever you are. You pick you got to look at the world that you live in. What can you do? Can you buy a house? That's appreciating asset. Can you buy stocks? That's usually an appreciating asset. And right now, crypto's the third new one. I don't think there's too many other appreciating assets that you can invest in. With crypto, the great thing is you could put in $1, or you could put in $5. A lot of people see Bitcoin and say, oh, it's 65,000. I have to buy one Bitcoin. No, you could buy $100 of a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And if Bitcoin goes up 50%, then now you have $1.50. That's great. That's great investment. So, okay, bullet points, disposable income. I would say probably the easiest one, then just go set up an account on one of the easy ones, Coinbase, Gemini, I think, or Kraken. Those are the three, I think, easiest. I hope I'm not missing one. The easiest exchanges. Go sign up an account, and then you could start putting in $5, $10, $100, $1,000, or whatever you want, 10,000. Third bullet point, probably, if this one's tough, do your research. And it must be human nature. Everybody, I think 99% of the people I meet in the crypto world, they all pick a coin and they're like, oh, that coin resonates with me.
Yeah.
I don't know, if I had to say, it's like stocks. You have to do your research, and this company has this going for them. That's the same thing with cryptocurrency. There's a cryptocurrency, Ethereum, but there is a Ethereum Foundation team. Do your research on the Ethereum Foundation team. Do they have a history of doing good? Are they reinvesting their Ethereum that they have back in the network, or are they buying lavish Lamborghinis?
Right.
That one's a tough one, because that one gets pretty nerdy pretty quickly. I'm thinking that's it. That third one's the tough, most potentially the most time consuming,
Sure.
the research. The fourth one, maybe if I had to break down a fourth one, a fourth bullet point, I would suggest, maybe if it's easier, try to break down into categories. So categories, platform coins like smart contracts, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, Harmony One. Those are just some examples of categories. So of the smart contract platform. Then there's privacy coins, Monero, Dash, I think Dash. I forget some of the other ones. So privacy are coins that they hide every step, everything. You can't even, if you give someone your public key, they can't even view your history. It's you can't even see where the money is sent. It's so crazy. So I would say that's a pillar. So a category: smart contract, privacy, speed, centralized. So a cryptocurrency that says they're a cryptocurrency, but they're centralized and not really a cryptocurrency. Ripple, Stellar. I think Ripple and Stellar I would throw in that category. I can't think of any others right now. There's hundreds in each of these categories. I'm just trying to name off the ones I know. So these categories, I would suggest put a little bit of money in each category. I'm into this. I love the smart contracts. So I would put 80% into a smart contract and then spread out 20% on privacy coins, speed coins, centralized coins, and hope that one of these, you're throwing darts really in these investments, and you hope one or more will hit a bullseye.
So it sounds like, as far as you're concerned, you want to put, for you, the most money in something that you think has a bigger chance or a better chance of being out there in the practical world application, right?
Yep.
Everything else, all the privacy coins, everything else that you mentioned, they're all kind of just cherry on top if you have them kind of deal. So might as well diversify and see where it goes.
Exactly. Diversify. Yep.
Yeah, but you trust, with the smart contract type of coins, you trust that that's going to be more applicable. Now, is that also because you feel that they're going to be more likely to be first adopted from a mainstream standpoint?
So I actually, I think it's human nature. I try to consider human nature. I do not think a government will jump to a fully decentralized coin first. So that I actually had a huge bet. I had a huge bet in the centralized coin, and it didn't turn out the way I liked. I lost. I wouldn't say I lost money. I didn't gain as much. I did gain, but it wasn't as much as if I would have stayed all in to Ethereum. I had this centralized bet on EOS. EOS was a coin that's still around, but it had there's a lot more news to it back in maybe 2018 or something. So I thought a government would be more likely to go towards a centralized coin and adopt that. And then hopefully slowly the baby steps would come towards a fully decentralized smart contract coin. So I put some money in that. So my intuition with humans is I still think that's a possible route. I think governments will go towards a centralized thing first.
Yeah.
And slowly people will realize decentralization is actually the way to the future, that opens up the paradigm shift. On a centralized platform, I don't think you could truly have the same paradigm shift that you could have with the insurance company, adjusters, the lawyers, all that. I don't think that could happen on a centralized coin.
If you're a genie or you had a magic crystal ball, under or over in terms of 100 years, under or over getting rid of fiat?
Over.
So we're still a good ways.
I'm sorry. I was sorry. Under. So I mean, I feel like it won't be in me and yours lifetimes. I think it'll be in the next. So that's my theory. That's my crystal. That's my intuition. These changes take a lot of time. But maybe I'm guessing 40 years, 50, 60 years, somewhere around there. That's my guess.
But once they adapt, it really, you can't stop it. And the momentum is incredible, right?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if I told you, I plan on living to be 150. So it may be my lifetime. I told you about the cold plunges, right? Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take a quick, let's dip our toe really quick into NFTs. This is, again, wider and deeper than a conversation, but overall, what's a summarization of what NFT is? Non-fungible tokens?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So they're just a way to uniquely identify something. I think, let me jump to I'll jump futuristic and I'll roll it back. I don't know if this will help.
Please.
I think NFTs are really interesting. I'm not really in financially right now into NFTs. I've actually just kind of watching from the sidelines,
Mhm.
but the potential, the paradigm shifts is actually really interesting. Say if you have say that painting on your wall behind you, say if that will actually, I don't know how expensive, say it's an expensive painting,
Mhm.
but how do we know that? How can someone actually fully, truly know that's the original? I think NFTs would be amazing if we created a canvas that had an NFT, a electronic NFT token into the canvas. And if you rip apart the canvas, it breaks the NFT. So that prevents it prevents someone trying to copy and or trying to take that chip and then putting onto another painting and say, oh, this is the original, this is the original, which is a different one.
Mhm.
So if you build a canvas that has an NFT chip in it, RFID. So like you're like almost like your credit card, like you know how you have the tap credit
Yeah.
card? It'd be
Yeah.
similar to that. You would tap a reader to the canvas and it would have a unique token, a unique ID. So once they paint it and they say that this is the original painting, this painter publishes it on the blockchain or their website says, I painted this, and say that painting became, the one behind you becomes $64 million worth. You could verify it with an NFT chip inside. People could say, yeah, this is that $64 million painting. So that's where I think that's where the future could be for NFTs. It's amazing. That could be for everything.
Right.
When they produce a car, that could be an NFT chip in there, and they could verify that. Oh, did you? Well, you could verify the warranty, and that's the right year that it was bought. Whatever. Maybe someone would try to take the engine out, put in another car. That's a different topic. Maybe I shouldn't get into that. So, I mean, you could do this NFT thing for everything: shoes, paintings, anything of collectible value, even non-collectibles, for warranties. I think you could do this NFT things. Now, okay, that's the future. We're currently at a state where some of those technologies haven't come out yet.
Mhm.
Right now, NFTs is just kind of more digital. There's a digital painting, digital
Right.
art. Um, Maybe the first step would be NFTs for video games. I think there's plenty of kids that would love to get something free in a video game, and they can maybe transfer it to another video game. If you had two video game publishers that work together, say, hey, we're going to create these NFTs, and you could carry it from game to game. So that'd be a fantastic way to have fun with NFTs. I think the craze with NFTs, I'm not a collectibles person. So that's
Mhm.
where I think the last time I collected anything was comic books when I was like 12 years old. So
Right.
I don't really understand NFTs as I don't I don't view it and I don't get hyped up about it as much as other people.
Right.
But I think there's a potential bright future to it. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, no, you
Sorry.
did. And just to break it down a little bit more, I'm glad you did it that way, because what you did is you took us out in the future where you're projecting what you believe the use of NFT is in the real world, whether it be to verify a physical painting, verify physical warranty contract. So everything is basically certified, verified. There's no question if something's valid or not, right?
If you could do an NFT house, oh, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Real estate with NFT house. Yeah.
Well, that right there, I can comprehend. What's going on right now in the NFT world blows my mind, right? Because right now, for those of you following some of the NFT stuff, basically, people are using NFT to verify non-tangible things that they deem are valuable, and they auction off. It's ridiculous. Like right now, if you and I were to clip one of the a 5 second portion of this podcast, and we put an NFT to it, and we go to the market and sell it. And if there's a buyer and someone puts value to it, you can auction it off for whatever.
Mhm.
But people can find that same clip on YouTube. They can find the same clip on an audio program. They can find the same clip everywhere. But the person that bought the NFT pertaining to that clip owns it. And
Yeah.
basically, right now, it's a virtual, non-tangible deployment in the world that my brain can't wrap around. But
Mhm.
the way
Mhm.
you put it, as far as future use, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. That's good. I stay away from that space. I do, a little bit on the engine side. I invested a little bit on me. I keep saying on me, in terms of that space, but I'm not following any one specific NFTs.
Yeah.
So we're gonna button this up just really quick. Thank you very much again for your time, then. So
No problem.
right now, if someone's listening to this for the first time, right, they go, God, I hear people talk about this. I just never had the time or the inclination to sit and listen to. If somebody wants to start going down this rabbit hole of crypto, what would you suggest they do? Are there books that you recommend, or the specific YouTube channels that you would recommend, yours included? But is there kind of like for me, like a dummy, I want to kind of just get my understanding, or at least my base understanding around what's going on?
I think I would suggest just YouTube. Just go on there, watch my videos if they want, but maybe just search in what is blockchain, what is cryptocurrency. It's kind of, there's so much information out there. How to weed through it. I think you have, for these things is so new and complicated. I'd say complicated, or I want to say it's so high level that you have to wrap your brain around it. It's going to be frustrating, and I don't have an answer for that. Just do the hard time and spend 30 minutes if you can. Spend a few hours. I actually suggest spend a few hours. Now, why I say that? This is an opportunity of a lifetime. If I went to you in 1992 and says, hey, there's going to be this company called Google, and you should probably invest in it when you get a chance, when it comes out. If I was some genie walked up or flew to somebody in 1992, that's how I feel blockchain and cryptocurrency is right now. It is in its infancy still. Even though people see 65,000 on Bitcoin, I don't think that's near the roof. We're still on the ground floor. We're waiting for a rocket to go up, and this price could go 2 million a coin, 5 million a coin for Bitcoin, and Ethereum might be $1 million a coin. Who knows? Just go invest. Now, I say just go invest because that once in a lifetime, whether it be housing or stocks, every moment, like not every moment, every 5-year block, if you ask somebody in 2017, do they wish have they bought some stocks? They would say yes. And in 2012, do they wish they bought a house? Always yes. Like every 5-year block. So why I say 5-year block is cryptocurrencies like that. Yeah, it's going to have its daily ups and downs. There's going to be some crashes, but there's going to be some massive spikes. So hold for 5 years. If you can, hold for 10 years, hold for 15 years, and it should go up massively. So yeah, I wish if people could take away something from this podcast, get it in yourself to go do some research, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. This is the best opportunity right now that we have in front of us. So this should be your highest priority for your future self.
I love it, man. I love it. Like I said, this could be a 3, 4, 5-day conversation, because this is a big thing to try to chunk down. But I hope people got at least a little bit of an understanding. And thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing. And we'll do definitely a follow-up with this. And I'll take you up on your offer for a home cooked meal too, man.
Awesome, man.
Anyway, but thank you very much. We'll be in contact soon, brother. I appreciate
Thank you, Rick.
Have a good day. You too.